Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Trisha Lehane. Trisha, you have a little bit of a presentation you want to show us, but before that, you want to give us a bit of an intro, let us know who you are?
Yes, good morning. I'm Trisha Lehane. I live in the greater Metro Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona area. And I lived and worked in Canada from the late 70s until about 20 years ago, coming up this month. Lived in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, even the Yukon territory. And this coming October, I'll be in Arizona for 20 years. So I sold my first $1 million home to a Canadian from Vancouver, and that was in 2008. And he said, you should be coming to Vancouver to do a workshop. Vancouver loves Scottsdale. So that was the very beginning of my working with Canadian buyers and sellers, and it's been a very strong niche of mine.
That's awesome.
So love it here, but Canada holds this big of my heart. So anyway.
Yeah. So you want to show us through this presentation, and we'll learn a bit about Arizona or Scottsdale and Phoenix?
Well, this is really talking to Canadians that own property in the U.S. We're seeing a lot of Canadians selling. So there's things that I like to share that people need to think about. And I do have resources right across the United States. I'm very passionate about global real estate and have, number one, the experience, the contacts, and the resources. Like, it's a lot different to buy and sell a home for a foreign national compared to somebody moving from Toronto to Winnipeg or Calgary.
Right.
Buying and selling, as you know. But these are some really strong considerations that I think really is important for people to consider when they're looking at selling. So, since we've been sort of going through some interesting times with the US and Canada, a lot of people are selling. And so a lot of people, I moved here and right at the very beginning of the recession that we had in 2008 to about 11 and 12, I was selling $60,000 homes, Glenn, in the outlying areas that it was almost block by block homes were going into foreclosure.
Right.
And the Canadian dollar was at par at that time. And like I said, $60,000 homes that you can't touch for less than $350,000. So the Canadian dollar has, been almost $1.50. So a lot of, people, if they're on limited incomes, cannot afford the HOA fees that are going up, because they're paying so much more. So my concept is you don't know what you don't know. So we do have the resources, the couple of things that are probably the most consideration is your FIRPTA, Foreign Investment Real Estate Property Tax, capital gains. You have to have an ITIN number, currency exchange, and there's lots of similarities and differences that are similar to Canada but different. So the FIRPTA requires a 15% of the gross sales price to be withheld. And we have probably 3 resources of people that can do the FIRPTA withholding. So if the price is under $300,000, it's up to the individual to submit that documentation through their accountant in Canada. However, if it's over $300,000, the monies are withheld and sent to the IRS. So the capital gains tax, again, it's typically 15 to 20%. Canada taxes capital gains at 50%, and you gain that marginal tax rate. The exchange rate, I have resources that can help, opposed to you going to your bank and having to pay get a lot less for your dollar. I have that resource to help to get the higher account. The ITN number, you have to be under contract, or if you've used your property, and you've probably done this, Glenn, as a rental, you already have to have a ITIN number, but
Oh yeah.
I have the resources that will help put that together. So virtual or in person, like literally, I have had my Canadian clients send me the keys to their property, and I have resources here on every end to help if you need to get rid of furniture. And this was something that a lot of my Canadian clients in the past have wanted to do. They wanted to sell it lock, stock, and barrel. Here in Arizona, when you purchase property with the home, it's on a separate bill of sale, because when people finance, and probably 85% of the people are financing, the lender does not give any credit towards the property values, i.e. furniture and that type of a thing.
Oh, really?
So what a lot of my Canadian clients have done is donated Habitat to Humanity, and that is a tax withholding on your FIRPTA withholding. It's counted as an expense. And I always tell all of my clients, right from when they purchase the property, make sure you document everything that you value you put on your property.
Yeah, you can even just allow the accountant to decide if that's legit or not legit, but just keep track of all of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So similarities, we both have the MLS system. Realtor representation is the same. Offer process is very similar. Disclosure statements, we have about a 10-page disclosure statement that the seller has to buy to complete and upload it. And then marketing strategies are very similar. A little bit different. So in Canada, in the United States, in Arizona, you can go to school for 3 weeks, write your exam, and if you pass your exam at the school, then you get to go to the state level and write. So you can literally, for about $750, get your real estate license in most of the states. In Canada, it's significantly different, and I wish they would implement that in the United States. Depending on the province, you literally go to school for a year to 2 years and have a mentor, and costs can be upwards of $3,000 to $6,000, again, depending on the province. So I find that very interesting. And something I think that is, I always like to bring to the attention of Canadians is when we take out a mortgage here for 25 or 30 years, that's your mortgage rate for life if you continue to live in that home. We don't have to refinance every 5 years.
Yeah, it's so much nicer. It's just
Oh, it is.
predictability, especially if it's a rental
Abs-
property. Like, taxes will change, insurance will change. It's just nice to have something that stays the same.
I have more free content. So if you're interested, I created a PDF guide and a video to go along with the PDF guide to complement it. And what the guide is all about is the 5 most common mistakes that Canadians make when investing in the United States. So if you're interested in this free guide, go to CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com/mistakes. And let's go back to the podcast. And it's free.
Well, especially, I mean, there were people financing at 2.5% 5 years ago, and I don't think we'll see those interest rates go down that low again.
Yeah. They're talking about it
So,
might happen in Canada again.
yes, absolutely. So, what I've started doing when I market a property here, I love to talk about this, to sell the sizzle.
Okay.
Because people in Arizona, we are here as much for the lifestyle as we are the property. So it's all about the sexiness, the lifestyle that the valley offers. Golfing, shopping, fine dining. I mean, it like, we're the 5th largest city in the United States, and my MLS covers about the same size as Los Angeles, believe it or not. So all of this, we have the resources, we do the property analysis, drone. I feel I have one of the best photographers in the valley. That's significantly important. And just title support, we can do it all here for you. You don't even have to be present. So here's my contact information. I do have my QR code there if anybody wants to scan for my Blink card.
Yep.
And my phone number is 602-689-9977. I would love to have any calls on anything that I've shared here with you today, and love the opportunity of being here with you, Glenn.
That's awesome. Okay, you want to turn off the screen share? Maybe I'll ask you a few questions, and we'll go.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So just from this, so a Canadian, they're like, "Hey, I'm interested in Arizona or somewhere in the United States," and they want to reach out to you. Let's go through the steps. When should they get the ITIN? When should they, should they start looking at the properties first? Let's just go from like a start to a finish, just so they understand the process.
So as I said, I am with Remax. I have resources all over Canada and the US to help buy or sell. And it's critically important to work with a realtor that has the resources. As a matter of fact, I met with my title company last week, and she said she had a nightmare situation. Somebody walked into a property, a Canadian, and said, "Oh my gosh, this is the house for us." Well, she's not ever worked with a financial. And it was a situation that she was selling the home for a Canadian, but she didn't realize the tax ramifications. And when you hit those bumps, and the IRS, trust me, that's not fun. So I recommend reaching out to me, giving me an idea. As a matter of fact, I have a conversation scheduled Friday with a Canadian from Toronto that's going to be moving to North Carolina. So I'm going to help him find a referral source in North Carolina to purchase, and then as well with him to help sell his home. And again, the currency exchange, all of that gets set up for when they sell. And that's what I like to do, is always have them prepared to look for when they are going to eventually sell. And then, because I have a professional Zoom account, I love to meet with people face to face, like we're doing here today.
Yeah.
And I, again, talk about the lifestyle. Some people purchasing, they're happy to have a Chili's in their little area to go to, but a lot of people come here for the lifestyle that the Metro Phoenix Scottsdale area offers. So if they want fine dining, but of course it also depends a lot on your budget. And then, we have the resource of the MLS that I put together, their searches, their portal that's dedicated strictly to them.
Yeah.
And I like to encourage them, probably 3 to 6 months out before they're purchasing, is to start the process, the conversation. And in the portal, they can mark favorites, they can mark that they like it, and I can see that. So it starts educating us both about the area, because all they have to do is log into their portal and see what that property that they marked as a favorite. It started on the market at 1.2 and it sold at 1.150. So it educates us both about what the market is looking like. And so when they're ready, they already understand the market. Fly down, start looking at properties. But again, a lot of it depends on the lifestyle they want to live and the price range they're looking at.
Okay. And
So,
you being in like Arizona or Scottsdale, Phoenix area,
mhm.
do you find that most people that are going down there or buying houses there that are Canadians, are they buying rental properties? Are they buying a second home, or are they actually moving there?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I just wanted to let you know that I've created a new coaching program. I believe the new coaching program has way more value than any of the programs that have even existed in the past. What we've done is pre-recorded all the lessons so that you can work through it at your own pace, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to meet up on a regular basis to answer the questions, do deal analysis, and actually spend our time together working on things instead of spending our time learning things. I think this will make a seamless transition to buying in the United States and will help you solve a lot of your problems. If this is of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com/coaching. I hope to help you guys invest in the United States, and I hope we provide as much value as possible. Back to the podcast.
All of the above. All of the above. Probably the highest percentage of my clients are buying it as a second home.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of work with RBC Bank, and a high percentage, they're based out of North Carolina. A lot of my Canadians have done their financing with them. So that's been a very beneficial, and they need to get pre-qualified. Since they are a Canadian bank, their timeline is closer to 45 days. In the States, most of my closings for financing is under 30 days. Some situations I've closed in 2 weeks, but the buyers had everything ready and they were ready to go. So then the process would be, we submit an offer. Things have changed in the United States. We have to have a buyer agency agreement that the buyer is prepared to pay the commission if the sellers are not going to pay that. So that's a conversation that I have up front with the buyers. Like, I can't even have them in my car or go out and meet them and look at properties without that buyer agency agreement. And it's not that we're asking them to pay me, I'm asking them to make sure I get paid. So then we find the property, we submit the offer, and I would say probably 95% of sellers are offering compensation for the buyer's agent. And so then if there's any additional items that the buyer wants, we do all of that. Negotiate back and forth. I've had clients counter back and forth upwards of 5 times. And I always say, we are working on behalf of all parties. So it's, so we get, if they're doing financing, that's done. Then after we get the offer accepted, we have 10 days to have the home inspection. A lot of states have the home inspection prior to even putting the listing up. And here we have title companies. We don't have lawyers, so they do everything here on behalf of both parties that lawyers do in Canada. And then, so if it's a Canadian selling their property, when we have an offer accepted on their property that's over 300,000, that's when they do the documentation for submitting for the ITIN number.
Okay.
So then we go through the process of the home inspection. If there's any issues that the client feels is more than they want to deal with, we can cancel the contract within that 10-day period.
Yeah.
Or at that point in time, we can ask for repairs to be done or monies towards closing cost in lieu of repairs. Which, when a Canadian is selling, in most situations, that's their desired end, opposed to trying to find contractors. But
I
again,
typically like that anyway, because it's done, and because
Right.
otherwise you do the repairs and then they do a re-inspection and then they might have
Right.
new repairs they ask for.
Right.
If you just give them the closing
Absolutely.
credit, it's just done.
Right. Absolutely. So once again, if a Canadian sells or buys, they don't have to be here for the closing. They can find a accredited lawyer through our title company, helps them to do the signing. And whether they're buying or selling, if they want to be here, they can be. So, but a couple of things I will talk about the Metro Phoenix area is our development here is significant. The Taiwanese semiconductor company they started the process of a $62 billion semiconductor plant. $62 billion.
Wow.
They just upped that last week, Glenn, to $100 billion. $100 billion. And to support that the volume for TSMC, there's companies that will support it, another $60 billion. the reason we're getting this development, do you have any idea why?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe I know that Texas did a lot of tax breaks for businesses. It could be something like
Natural
that.
disasters.
Natural
Natural disasters. We don't have natural disasters. As a matter of fact, a commercial realtor at a global summit I was at recently talked about this. And he said he had just been in California with his buddies four-wheeling. He said second morning they woke up, there was a shake, a tiny little earthquake. He said that shake would have been enough that it would have damage to the the process of the tiny little inserts.
Yeah.
So our growth is significant. You know, a lot of Canadians are selling. A lot of Canadians are selling more in Florida than here because we don't have the natural disasters. Our insurance has gone up some, but the good news is we can still get insurance. I mean, lots of places in Florida, California, Colorado, they can't even get insurance.
It's gotten a lot more difficult. I have some properties in Florida, and I work with 5 different insurance companies, and only one of them will do it now. And they used to all do it. It's just they're just pulling out.
I know. Well, and the thing is, it's the affordability of it
Yeah.
in Florida. You know, like I've had people tell me $6,000 to $8,000 a year for home insurance.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. And then especially when that dollar is doing what it's doing right now.
Yeah, it's a lot easier if there's a tenant and they're paying that than you paying it or paying for
So, I mean, really, the process is pretty easy, but you have to have an agent that has the experience and, more importantly, the resources to help you through the purchase and the sale with the ITIN number and them submitting the documentation to get your FIRPTA withholding. Like the majority of my clients have got most of their FIRPTA withholding back.
Yeah, just have to file reports. Like the reason that FIRPTA is there is just because people weren't paying taxes. So this is
right.
They just want you to file a tax return.
Absolutely. So they want their part of the money. So
that makes a lot of sense. Trisha, I know you mentioned it before. Before we let you go, do you want to give people your contact information again?
yes. My name, Trisha Lehane, TRICIA, Lehane, LEHANE at remax.net. And my phone number is 602-689-9977.
Awesome. Well, Trisha, love having you on the podcast. I think some people got some value out of this, and they can reach out if they have more questions.
Sounds great. Thank you. I hope to come back again and talk about the growth and the opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, we'll keep attacking it at different angles. Sorry, I got a little bit of a
Sounds great. Feel better.
Thank you so much, Trisha. You have a great day.
Thank you. All right, you too. Bye-bye.
That was a nice video. Bye.